everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Kaze-kan cast. I'm your host, Ed Tama, 23,
And I'm Mean Mug.
and today we have a couple of topics we want to talk about. I think first and foremost, to get out of the way, let's bring up the fact that Reggie Fils-Aimé is retiring as the president of Nintendo of America, or CEO. He's important of Nintendo of America specifically.
And it's just making me realize how old.
Yes, you cut.
Man. What did I cut off?
Yeah, a little bit. I think you just said how old you are.
It was reminding me of how old. Shoot. No, because I was just thinking about when he first came in. What was it? Midway towards the end of the GameCube cycle, that's when he came in, I think.
Yeah, he kind of was a he started gaining traction around the Wii era. That's when everybody
Yeah,
started knowing who Reggie Fils-Aimé was.
yeah.
And I know this is going to be a little weird cuz we just made an episode where we kind of criticized Nintendo a little bit harsh, more harsh than most people, but I think despite all that, Reggie.
You gotta give constructive criticism to whoever you want to succeed. If not they'll just do mistakes and
Yeah,
then I wonder why this happened. But back to topic.
yeah, I always felt like as far as Reggie retiring, good for him. It's not like it's we had anything against Iwata, Shigeru Miyamoto, or Reggie on a personal level. If anything, just certain practices that we were upset of, but ultimately we don't wish any ill will towards them as human beings. And
Unless we're playing Smash, but
yeah,
that
yeah.
but that
When you that disregard your humanity, treat everyone like animals in the ring. um, but I'm not gonna be the one to say that uh, what he's done. I am far from a huge as far as Nintendo fans. I would be more insulting to say, "Oh, it's gonna be sad to miss him," because I was indifferent to him for the most part. It wasn't. I only started noticing who he was on for me till since when the 3DS arrived. I mean, a lot of people knew who he was, but for me, that's where I started noticing him. And as far as CEOs of companies, he's probably the best one that has a good image amongst his, you know,
yeah,
party
because he's the
audience.
only one who could say that. Oh, you don't have a Switch. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, yeah. There's that level of interaction that he has with fans that it doesn't feel as shallow as when other companies do it. Like I know companies at the end of the day are there to take your money, but at the same time, there's some there's some enjoyment that someone like him, who you would think would never interact with anybody, rarely show up to things other than to announce something. He's out there with the fans. He signs autographs, and for the most part, that's actually that I got to give him props for that because he could have just been any no face person that the only thing that Nintendo really has is their characters. But that's Nintendo is one of the only few companies you can say that they have a, you know, people fleshed out people that will work at Nintendo. Like who Reggie is, who Satoru Iwata is, Shigeru Miyamoto. Like I always kind of forget the other like Bill Gates, but he doesn't is with Microsoft, but there's
Well,
not that.
technically, he don't own Microsoft anymore. It's just
Yeah,
that's
he's
the
just
first
kind
thing
of, but
people
like,
think.
yeah, but with the Xbox community, it's Phil Spencer, you
Yep.
know, and with Sony, oh, Sony like doesn't like I Shuhei Yoshida is the president of Sony Japan, I don't know if he's part of. I think it's the game division or just. I don't know if he's the game division or just the president of Sony and Japan in general. But you know, there's
Man, last time we had a cheesy PR stunt was the beginning of the console generation, to where it's like, hey, let me show you how we borrow games.
oh yeah, yeah. With that, that was the most like interaction
Not,
they've done with the community, and I kind of, Sony's not really that company that would do stuff like that, like what Nintendo does. Nintendo has that interaction on a whole different level. Like it, it's if anybody else, it's hard to say any other company that, in terms of video games, who interact with their fans other than like, oh yeah, I can't even like, I'm losing my grip, but out of the three major companies, like even including or even including Valve, Valve has Gabe Newell, but again, he's like kind of like in his own thing. He owns Valve. He doesn't necessarily, and there are people that do interact with them, but it's kind of like this. He's more of a
mm,
he's. It's weird because like when you compare Reggie to all the other ones, it's just like you like. I would say second is Gabe Newell, third place Phil Spencer, and fourth anybody who's worked at Sony because Shuhei Yoshida, like he's there, but like I don't he there's not
yep.
that same feel. You can't. He's not on the same tier as even Phil Spencer, which he's even interacted with fans. Like for the most part, before we just start rambling about which companies had their mascots of people, overall Reggie's, you know, time being the the CEO and all of these things, it really shows that like there's just like a wow. That's really nice. It's really nice with the fans, or there's not the like. It's just a little moment for Nintendo fans, and I got to give it to them because, I can't say that for any other video game kind of company, other than like developers, certain developers, and everything. But he's part of the a big corporation, and there's a sense of like positive like it. I'm losing. Ugh. Whew. All right, sorry guys. We were having a lot of difficulties trying to get this podcast built together. So like, forgive us for any of us just slipping on our words, and just you can see that we're really trying to make this. But
I can
uh,
say at least he didn't go out on a sad note with one of the great people of Nintendo.
yeah, for me, I'm just like it's just nice that he's retiring, and it was honestly handled the best way it could. He gave his farewell, and they made a video and showing him, and there's clips of him actually interacting with fans. It's nice. It's nice. It's
I mean, he still could do cameos just for comedic effect,
yeah,
but that's about it.
but I think when I
I
heard
mean,
him
he
say he
earned his
mostly
spot, he
yeah
got his money, and now it's time to chill out.
yeah and ooh, actually this could go into another thing. We were talking about having topics, and I was kind of lacking on it, but this actually could segue into another topic compared to another CEO of a company named a specific Cliff Blazinski, Cliffy B on Twitter. He's a retired CEO, and this is kind of like the yin and yang of CEOs retiring. Do you happen to know who Cliffy B is? I never think I actually talked about that.
It rings a bell.
Well, I mean, as for anybody who's listening, if you don't know, Cliffy B is the creator of Gears of War, mostly known for Gears of War, and recently Lawbreakers and the disaster cash grab that shut down his company for good, Radical Heights. So Cliffy B is retired now, and he's kind of like the one CEO where he's we're kind of glad he's retired for the most part. Like I don't honestly I was indifferent with Lawbreakers. It didn't catch my eye at all, and Radical Heights was just, whoo, man. Like, it's one of those games where it was so unfinished and it was only made specifically to cash in on the battle royale market. And to top it all off, his company shuts down and everybody's out of a job and he's retiring as CEO, retiring. He gets to retire while these guys have to struggle for work. You know. That's fine. It's like that's cool. I mean, yeah, but hey, at least you're retired now. And but then
Yeah.
again, so but when you compare him to Reggie's retirement, it's just like wow, like despite all the flack Reggie gets, maybe some people don't like the way he handled Nintendo. I feel this with every again with all the criticism that we've had for Nintendo, despite all of that, overall, if I wouldn't have any other person, there's nobody off the top of my head I could think of who could do what Reggie did, despite all of. Oh, excuse me. Oh my gosh, I got cut off. Anyway, the I wouldn't have any other person work on Nintendo of America side other than Reggie because overall it was a he did an 8.5 out of 10 job. The the
Yep.
1.5 I took down was for the complaints stated. So you can see how minuscule our problems are, but there's still problems nonetheless that we want addressed.
Man, but the Wii U wasn't on Reggie alone. That was more Nintendo thing as a whole. So
Yeah, and but that was them. That's what happens with companies. When it's successful, when they hit gold, they kind of quality care and kind of drops. As far as the games, that's a whole different thing. Their quality of games is a little bit handled a little bit differently, but the way they handle their consoles and the way they handled the Wii compared to the Wii U, it was like there was no quality control on the Wii, and
so
there was
much shovelware.
yeah, all the shovelware and the Wii U. It wasn't the. It was the. Hey, it could have used some shovelware. It was so lacking in the library department, and on top of that, the marketing for it was just unreal. Like people didn't it didn't click with the average audience, the Wii audience, that was the new Nintendo console. A lot of people were just confused as to whether or not it was an add-on or not. And
Yep.
even though like hardcore fans and even just gamers in general know that wasn't the case, remember the Wii market wasn't just the gamer audience. It was mom and pop, families who just bought it so they could play Wii Sports to keep the kids occupied while the older, adults have their, you know, whatever adult things that they do and have the kids preoccupied.
Yep.
And that market was gone. The whole because the motion control was the only real thing that got those people into it. It was
And
a
that's
cheap.
that, and then the fact that people were getting into the mobile division of gaming
Yeah,
as well.
yeah. So the Switch is actually, if the Switch came out and instead of the Wii U, they would have had the market. Oh, and they would have won over. Like the PS4 wouldn't have won. Xbox would have like probably been second or third place. Actually, that's the thing. We don't know. We know Nintendo would have been on the ball, but the question would have been who would be the second runner. Because right now the second runner is Nintendo catching up to PlayStation because of the PS4 with the Xbox One in the back. And the reason, and also FYI, if you don't hear me bringing up PC, it's because it's kind of like they're not the non-contenders. They have their own. It's like their own little thing. Like the PC market is like on a whole different level.
I mean, the PC market, the only thing they have to worry about is whether or not they'll get a port.
Yeah,
That's
and
about it.
and that's not no disrespect to the PC crowd. I'm just saying when it comes to the main three consoles, that's what we're referring to. It's just to like show you because even Microsoft doesn't count the Xbox division as the PC division. I mean, they kind of do now, but it was its own thing. Like games that are exclusive to the Xbox One will eventually come on PC, but the idea was to make them exclusive to the Xbox One, even if you had a PC.
But speaking of PC, isn't it ironic that we'll get Halo for the Switch when we get one for the?
Before we get one for the PC,
Yeah.
uh,
Why did someone think this was a good idea again?
I don't know. But anyway, so back to the Cliff Blazinski thing and Reggie. I just wanted to say that like Reggie is like compared to all these CEOs and everything. I like again only from their image, not necessarily their personal life. I'm not judging them based on personal like life, unless of course they're posting it on Twitter because that counts because that's what we're seeing. I don't know how Cliff is Blazonga Blazinski is with his family and friends. I'm pretty sure he's a very decent guy to his family for the most part. But for his audience and the people who liked his games, I really think he could have handled his retirement like Reggie. Like how is it that Nintendo is also the top tier when it comes to CEOs retiring? You know,
Eh,
and the only sad thing was is that with Iwata passing away, like that sucks because how that was handled on the Japanese division. But for Nintendo of America, this is probably the best way of it being handled, and I just wanted to bring up that Cliffy B segment just to be like, just because I saw recently on Twitter he got in a fight with not necessarily a fight, but like he got into like this cheeky like I'm better than you kind of Twitter fight with a the ex two best friend member Pat Patrick Boyvin, angriest Pat on Twitter about his retirement because he Cliffy mentioned something about um, Reggie's retirement, and he also posted a thing where he's kind of like chilling and relaxing. And he says, "My fan," like it says, the Twitter's like, the tweet goes as fans, "Hey, Cliffy, make another game," and it says me, and it shows a picture of him kind of just like dressed, sitting around, lounging, and Pat responded with, "Yeah, like in a, I'm not, I don't mean to shorten it because I don't know the tweet word for word, but it was basically nobody cares kind of thing." And Cliffy responds with another, "Well, I don't care that people don't care because I'm retired and I'm don't have to
I
work a
am
day in
still
my life.
relevant.
I'm still relevant." Oh, you summed it up pretty good, yeah. And it's it's weird how how it can get to people, that form of power. But with Reggie, it didn't feel like that. He felt pretty like from most stories that people have heard
Yeah, it
when they
felt like
met
it
him
was
in
from the
person.
heart.
Yeah, he felt like he was handling the job the way he wants. And again, if people can have problems with him, of course those that exist. But I just feel that even for me, who's someone who's indifferent to Reggie overall, like because I honestly only started picking up who he was from memes on Twitter and everything when the 3DS was like around. But
Some people can have valid criticisms, but at the same time, some people are just drones. So
yeah,
there's nothing you
um,
can do about that. To where if you try to have a conversation, they'll never agree with whatever he said he agreed with. You know how that goes.
yeah. So other than that, I guess we can say that good luck to you, man. And oh, so did you see? So I guess did we talk about the E3?
E3.
Yeah, the current like not E3, Nintendo. Sorry, the Direct or the Treehouse that came out recently.
Yeah. No, we haven't. We haven't
Uh,
talked about that yet.
so what are your impressions on it? Because the group of my family, including my wife, was excited for the Rune Factory 4 remake and Rune Factory 5.
I honestly don't know what Factor is. The only thing that
Me
remotely
neither.
got me interested was that game made by Platinum.
Oh yeah. what was it? I don't remember it.
Mm,
Hold on. I remember it was like it had to do with police force, and it was kind of like they got the. It's I don't think it's the Platinum A team working on it. I want to say it's like the smaller team because like there's people when Metal Gear Rising and all these games came out for Nickelodeon. Like people know Platinum has like a B, and C team. A team works on like the big names like Bayonetta, and all the like the crazy games. Like with Hideki Kamiya is the director. He's not the director of this one. I think it's one of the smaller guys, but he was the one that helped work on Near Automata. That's what they were kind of like the selling point was, and it looks interesting. But there was something I don't rem- I don't remember. I don't know. I don't remember being too impressed. And I'm not saying that like a bad thing. Don't. I don't want people anybody think I wasn't hyped. I was more like, oh hey, they're making a game, but I wasn't like, oh my gosh, I need to play this game, like, because Platinum's combat system is pretty well established. People recognize Platinum not for their games specifically, but because of how complex their battle systems are compared to the most average hack and slash. Because the only real comparison that people have from the West to Platinum is God of War,
I'm so
and
surprised I haven't made a crossover with Devil May Cry yet.
it's because of licensing issues and with DMC5 and Sega, it's really up to it's not only up to Platinum either. It's pretty much up to whoever.
Astral Chain,
Yeah.
that's what it was called.
Oh, Astral Chain.
Yeah,
Hold on, I need it. Mm,
I mean,
okay.
I'm looking forward to it. But other than that, everything else I saw,
Yeah.
eh.
Mm, I see what you mean. Oh, sorry. I'm
They
back.
might be say, well, I'm not even gonna say wait to E3 because this is a good segue because E3 is becoming irrelevant.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I mean, the icing on the cake was Sony is not attending this year's E3.
Well, I wouldn't even say that's the what makes me say that is long ago whenever we would see E3, it would always be a spectacle. People would be hyped, surprised, all that other stuff. But now, no such thing because usually a week before E3 comes out, they say, "Oh, this is going to be at E3," and then E3, yeah, this is what we told you it's going to be there. So, okay,
Yeah, and nowadays with Twitter and all these social media sites, we don't have that sense of mystery. What's coming out? We know what's coming out, and honestly, people just want to see gameplay. And what's
be real. Do you remember when three revealed Sonic the Hedgehog for Super Smash Brothers Brawl, and everyone was hyped.
Are you kidding me? Oh, the Smash
That's
Dojo and everything. That's
or that other time,
when Snake
when
was
we,
announced too. Like,
or whenever we saw Final Fantasy like that tech demo for the PlayStation 3, which
oh,
we
the
mistook for a
opening,
remake.
the yeah.
Tell me, people were not hyped.
There were so like, it's cool. That's the only thing I miss about. That's how you know that time is just the technology is advancing so fast because there was so much speculation and there's so much things that people can say is word of you everything was almost word of mouth if you didn't have an internet connection. Nowadays it's easy to have a internet, just look on your phone, use the and just go to Twitter and then get spoiled almost everything. That's people can data mine things, people like
Hey,
it's
because the last time I saw someone that type of excitement was whenever they announced Blaze Blue Cross Tag. But that's about
yeah.
it. Like I've yet to see that hype factor again.
Are you hyped for the Arc System Blaze? I mean, not Blaze. Grand Blue. See, that's how Grand Blue, Blaze Blue, the Grand Blue fantasy fighting game
It actually looks beautiful.
with armpit physics. Did you see that? Like, have you seen that? People were like, they really like aren't like. There was a character where like, I guess she has like her armpit exposed from the. It's because of the clothing she wears, and Cygames pretty like and Arc Systems like had trouble actually. Like, it's really hard to get that kind of rendering of the model to get that kind of thing. So they actually mastered something because of a specific fetish. So like
Hey, they making money.
yeah, no, it's Side Games has that kind of money. They can do whatever they want. In fact, I think there's a platinum game that of Grand Blue platinum game that they're making as well. So Grand Blue's kind of getting there, and it's crazy that is there an English translation for the game, or is it still like you have to download a patch?
Mm, I don't know, cause I can tell you I've yet to get into Grand Blue. I heard a lot about Grand Blue and seen a lot of fan art, so and I
Yeah,
know they
from
got them like two animes and whatnot, but I
yeah,
haven't really dove into it yet.
I'm just kind of trying to stay away from like a lot of mobile games right now. Like
I know the feeling.
I try to
I
get into
mean,
like Azure Lane, and I was in for a while, but kind of dropped it. I tried to get in Destiny Child because it finally came over here to the West, but again, it's I don't know, like
it's free to play.
yeah.
You want this skin? Pay this money.
Even though like I've heard people invest way more money in these mobile games for a PNG waifu more than just like an actual $60 game. And again,
Mm,
it's not. I'm not discrediting people. It's your. If you work for your money, do what you want. I can't stop you. Like if you, but
like I'm
I mean,
sure Giga would know more about this.
Gigook,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe. Um, but for me, I was always. I would like to get into them. I like the character designs for Grand Blue, like, but as far as the game itself, I don't. I don't find it like I don't know it. Mobile games, I no matter what people say, there hasn't been a single mobile game that made me go, "Wow, the mobile game market is going crazy." I have never like there hasn't been a game where it's like, you know what, guys, I I copped out, and I like this is like to rival a game on console or PC. There actually is. There's only one. Like, there is a mobile game I'm interested in, but only because it's made by somebody who's around this area. You know,
Hmm.
so it's kind of like a local kind of thing. So it's like, oh, hey, guy, you're making a mobile game, and he's trying to implement. Like, it kind of sounds corny. Like, he says it's gonna be free, so obviously that means there's gonna be like he didn't say there was gonna be ads. He said it's gonna be free. Like, the idea is to make it free. But the thing is, it looks like a very ambitious project. It looks like he's putting a lot into it. I think it was a kickstarted game, and he went to a convention recently, and he was selling like posters of it, and there was a trial demo of it. So it's really like it's being really. It looks decent. Like if it was like would almost believe it. I'm pretty sure he has some help, but it's a very small independent company. Um, it's supposed to be like a like Puzzles and Dragons, but with a visual novel kind of like story progression.
Eh, it could work.
And I like the art style. It's a little. It's not crazy. It's kind of standard anime fantasy things. But again, it's one of those. Hey, that guy's local, so I'm kind of I don't mind supporting local people if they're into the same thing that we are. I'm kind of that person. I kind of support the home team kind of thing.
I just gotta see how it peers out. I mean, hopefully it ain't no milk fest.
Yeah,
It's
that's
like buy skin. Up, you want another turn? That'll be $2.
yeah. Because again, free games. If it's the thing too good to be true. It's a phrase that's older than any of us, and it has stood the test of time. Free games, like even games that I like, the one free game I'm actually like playing is Let It Die. I'm trying to beat it because I downloaded it a few years back, um, and I just want to beat it just for the sake of completion. But that's probably the only free to play game that I'm currently invested in right now. But that's on a console. It feels like an actual game. Like there are some free to play games on like MMOs and everything that I don't mind getting into, but when it comes to mobile games, they're not, to me they don't feel fun. Like I tried to play Fate, I couldn't get into Fate.
Oh, uh,
You sound like you have a little bit of history with this.
what can I say about fate? That could be
The
another
mobile
video,
the mobile game specifically
or
before
should I
anybody
say
starts
another
thinking,
podcast? I mean,
yeah, this is about the mobile game, not the anime. I'm indifferent to the anime, so if anybody, or the
no,
visual novel, whatever there
no, I'm
is.
just saying. I just fate as a whole, but to the mobile division again, by paraphrasing from Giguk, you're just sinking money into this.
Are you kidding me? The amount of money I've heard people spend on that game alone, it's insane, and it's really just for specific characters. And they're just images. And I know like it's
Well, there go the
again,
comment section.
yeah, yeah, it's like I like the honestly, I've had more like, don't get me wrong, my favorite character from Fate, from just impressions alone, was like actually watching a little bit of the Apocrypha, or however you pronounce it, the one with Mordred. Mordred became like, well, like that my favorite character. I'm not gonna grind for the game to have her in my like party or whatever in the game. I'd rather just like
Eventually, you will.
not, no,
Eventually.
because there's a little app called and Pixiv, and I can just look up images of Mordred and be satisfied with that for free. That's it. Boom. Problem solved.
What you talking about? About you got a free game where you can get your waifu for free. Don't you want to impress your waifu?
No, because she's not my waifu. She's just a character I find impressive from the series. I don't even know. Like, I can't even like say who my waifu is because I feel like I'd be betraying almost like a list of characters. Because for some people, it's really easy to like say this character is my waifu when they have like pictures of that character all over their wall. They have like keychains of them. They have figures of them. I'm super inconsistent with it. I just buy whatever figure I think looks good at the time, and if I have the money for it.
Hmm.
So, but like if it were just a off
It's like,
imp-
so it's not you greedy
yeah,
as I look at my fate figurines.
yeah. Oh my gosh, we went from E3 to waifus, but I mean that's what this podcast is. I mean it's video games and anime. We didn't say it'd be perfect, but as far, yeah, but with back to the E3 thing, I just don't like it's, see, that's how uninteresting E3 is. We just kind of dove into another topic, and no game that's going to be announced at E3 isn't going to be announced on the internet on YouTube the next day or something. Like people can wait for that, and really all the stuff at E3 is really for the gaming press, for like, oh, so we went to buy the E3 booth and we got first-hand exclusive look cuz I heard that there was stuff at E3 that are only available to gaming journalists and specifically
You
approved
mean
ones.
stockholders?
Yeah, it's pretty much just like, oh, hey, I was paid to review this game and go to the E3 booth, and it was turned out as to be good. For the it's not even, E3 is not really open to the general public. Like all the extra, like there's that whole like Resident Evil 2, Raccoon City like haunted house kind of thing that was at E3, but only specific people were allowed to actually go in it. So as far as the impressions of people, it wasn't just open for the public. It was only open for very specific people.
In other words, you got the money to be in there.
Well, I mean, the journalists don't have the money. It's really much the company's money.
But still, you got the money to be in there.
Yeah, you got the connections. But but people are not really interested in that anymore, and the few people that do, it's slowly trickling down, and it'll get to a point. I don't think E3 is going to like just up and go right off the bat, but it's
We getting there though.
if a company will say we're not going to be at E3, that says a lot. That says a lot about it in general, like But even with Nintendo has their treehouse thing. If E3 were to disappear, Nintendo doesn't have to worry. In fact, more people are more excited about the treehouse and directs more than E3
And
itself.
there are more micro shows that they can go to where it's not so big, but it's like, hey, I don't know, we're coming live from CES or some
Yeah, and then
random.
I mean, a lot of people are, then there's a Tokyo Game Show, which is kind of like the Japanese E3. I feel like more people are excited about. Like I felt like that one had a little bit more traction when E3 was, still up and about. I feel like, but again, all I remember was for E3 was it's just an excuse for people to go to their favorite forums and brag about which company won E3. Nintendo won E3, Sony won E3, Microsoft tried. uh, you
Maybe
know,
next generation.
there was actually one I remember people were saying, "Whoa, did like Xbox just steal the show?" Not the one last year. I'm talking about the one I think it was like a year before that. Cause a lot of people said that Microsoft's when they announced Devil May Cry and Tales of Vesperia, that that one was the one that whoa, Microsoft, did you just steal the show? Because Sony's came out and everyone was kind of like, and I actually was home in time to watch that one, and the only thing I remember really that I was hyped for was the RE2 trailer. Everything else was kind of I wasn't really excited for The Last of Us 2 because it was just like, oh yeah, hey, Last of Us.
Well, we knew that was gonna happen. So
Yeah, and it was funny because like there was like that whole thing that they made people get up and move to one location to watch a guy with a banjo play, and then they moved to a next area to show the gameplay trailer.
it's like Brad just shows
It was a
streams.
little too ambitious, and if it was part of its own thing, like if Sony had its own little show, then that probably would have made sense. But when you're trying to compete to show off your games, that's not one way to do it. Is to make everybody uncomfortable by getting up and moving into another area. I think the thing that other than that, I think the second thing that I was interested in was the new Sucker Punch game, Ghost of Tsushima. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong.
Not Tenchu.
Yeah, well, no. The not Tenchu is the Sekiro Shadows Die Twice from Soft. But oh,
Sorry, why am
and
I
then there
getting
was
those
some
names mixed up? Wait,
they
which one was which?
okay. So Ghost of Tsushima. I feel like I'm saying that badly. I'm butchering that. I'm so sorry.
Gonna have to give
That
you a
one
taco.
that one is
Up.
created by Sucker Punch, the same people who made Infamous, and it's more of a cinematic like samurai game, whereas Sekiro Shadows Die Twice is like Bloodborne, but in the with the ancient Japan, ancient Japanese thematic elements and stuff. Kind of like Neo meets Bloodborne in a way.
They look beautiful though.
No, it looks cool. I'm not like it looks fun. I would like to play it if I have a chance, but it's not one of my I have to play it kind of games. I'm still waiting on that SMT5. That's what I'm waiting on games that like will never see the light of day. And they will. I'm just saying like they're not coming out like in the next few months or weeks, or sometimes they get pushed back. Um, but that's E3 for you. Like it's the games that we're interested in. We just want to see stuff of it. But even back then, I always kind of didn't like watching the show. I would try to watch them, but all that they were was just pre-rendered like trailers that showed no actual gameplay. I like would like to see a little bit of gameplay like here and there. And if the game is just being announced and it's not really in development, then it's just like what's the point? Okay, like the only like I remember when everybody got hyped when Shenmue was announced at the Sony E3. Was it in 2016?
Yeah.
Um, and the
It's like,
Kickstarter,
hey yo, we need money
and
here.
then the Kickstarter was like on the day it was announced, it met its goal. And I really think that was nice because if you really think about it, you know, the fact that a lot of
Well,
people
it
were hyped
builds
for
a
it,
community.
it's
And
a,
for
it's
because it's like the dude just comes up and says, hey, y'all want me to make a new one? Y'all need to give me money. Okay, give me money here. We
yeah,
got you.
like a lot of people don't understand that certain people who work with these games, who are like the people who made the game to what it was, might not be working. Like one of my favorite composers or like music arrangers is Hideki Naganuma, who worked on the Jet Set Radio soundtracks. But people always ask him, when are you gonna make Jet Set Radio 3? And it's like he didn't make it. You gotta ask Sega. And honestly, he doesn't work for Sega. He's his own independent company. So when people say, you know, how would you make another Jet Set Radio? And so it's like, well, Sega would have to call me, or you know, because he also did the Sonic Rush game soundtrack, and I think he heard that. I think he found out that one of the person who directed that game didn't actually listen to the soundtrack, so he never actually. So to this day, he doesn't know if they were impressed with his soundtrack or not. Because you know, if you played Sonic Rush, it's a it has that funky vibe that Sonic soundtracks have, but it had its own like feel
Yeah, it was
to it.
amazing.
It was like like the Sonic Rush soundtrack is sick. Wrapped in Black
Yeah,
is like it's just great, and the
yeah,
drums in it,
you sound like you listening
like
third
you.
string or
The
something.
only downside is sometimes if you try to listen to it on YouTube, you'll get the DS quality, so it kind of sounds a little bit like bit crushed, so it sounds a little compressed. So that's why you got to look for CD version if you haven't heard the song. I really like it. Um,
Well, you those type of people who like to have flack.
no, no, no. I'm just saying, when it comes to video game soundtracks, I kind of wish there was a better way of preserving them, because especially with the DS era, the DS sound card, the Game Boy Advance sound cards weren't that great, and I know like for the Game Boy Advance, most of the songs are MIDI files, so like they use a lot, like especially the Pokemon ones, but like there's some where it sounds like they're using real samples of the song, but it's really compressed because of the memory and the space of the cartridge. So it's really just hardware limitations. But there's a game that I remember called Advanced Wars Days of Ruin, and when I was listening to the soundtrack, I'm like, this sounds like the songs are really good. If like I really loved Advanced Wars Days of Ruin. By the way, if anybody was curious, um, I I still have the copy, but it's hard to play it because the DS I have doesn't really work 99% of the time. But I like the soundtrack. I like the character. Every character that's on the field has their own theme. Like it's pretty. Like, have you heard of the Advance Wars franchise?
Never got into it, but I heard of it.
Well, it's kind of like Fire Emblem, but with tanks and army men. I know I'm oversimplifying it, but that's what it pretty much is. So the player you play as has their theme when it's your turn. So that's the music that plays in the background. And when the enemy's turn, they have their own sound, you know, their own song, their own theme music to go with it. But the main character's theme is really good. Like it sounds like really really good, and it sucks because there's no high like studio quality version of it. Like there's some really good instruments in it, and like the guitar and everything, and it has like violin strings in it, and it's just I wish there was a better way to get some of these songs on from games and just make them, you know, sound as how they were supposed to sound, like studio. They don't have to be flat quality, but enough to be like, wow, I could.
But that's what you asking for. Like,
No, it can be MP3 quality. I'm just saying, like, you can hear the static almost like it was recorded off of a DS and not from a CD, you know?
yeah,
Like, there is a CD version of Sonic Rush's soundtrack. But when you listen to it through the DS, even with headphones on connected to your DS, you still get that sound quality that a DS had.
So
Anyway,
you're just asking.
I just wish like if there was like CD quality versions of these video game music. Not every game has the sound. You can listen
I
to the
don't know the
soundtrack on
feeling though.
YouTube.
Like, it's a perfect example would be I've always that Sega would one day release the instrumental versions of the Knuckles tracks from Sonic Adventure 2. Ah, man.
Get a
They,
load of this guy. He wants instrumental versions of Knuckles stages, implying that the
you know they were
lyrics,
good though.
the lyric. Are you kidding me? Those are like I still listen to that soundtrack to this day. I love. I sing along to Knuckles' sound like songs. All right.
But what did you want the instrumental though?
I mean,
Because we got like one example of Death Chamber, like full instrumental. Oh, sounds.
yeah, but I mean, Death Chamber is a little. That one doesn't have a lot of lyrics in it anyway. It just has like a little bit of the guy just talking to himself. But it's inoffensive. Like I like how dumb and you can tell that English was
I
not
mean,
his
I'm not
first.
saying there's anything wrong. It's just I
No,
want one
no, but I
without
understand.
vocals.
I understand. Like I think Escape from the City has an instrumental version. So there,
That's what I'm saying. City Escape can have an instrumental, but all the Knuckles guys can't have instrumental.
yeah, that's probably because of the. But it's I could see yeah, instrumental would be okay, but I still it wouldn't be the same without me. I'd sing to it even if it didn't have it, even if it was instrumental. The lyrics have you will hear the lyrics. You can't escape from them. Like
Yeah.
as soon as you hear like "Kick the Rock," you know me, the fighting freak Knuckles. Like that, you're gonna hear that even though he's gone. Like he's not in the it's instrumental version. You're gonna be like, "What was that?" I swear, maybe I listened to the wrong track. But nah. But I'm like I love video game music, but I'm into like the stuff like with Sonic Rush, Jet Set Radio.
Oh, it's either that or get the original theme of Otherworld from Final Fantasy X. Now, if you a fan of Final Fantasy series, you know what I'm talking about. Play the original PlayStation 2 version, you fight the boss, and then you hear this track. It's like, what?
Yeah.
And then in the remaster, they just replace it with the cutscene audio. It's like, what?
Oh yeah. Don't. That's another thing. Sometimes HD like remasters can actually butcher music.
I'm looking at you, Onimusha.
um. Sometimes it's licensing issues too. Like No More Heroes has a track in it that's by Genki Rockets called Heavenly Star, and it's supposed to play in certain parts, but because they couldn't get the rights for it, because lo and behold, guess who ported the? It was a PlayStation 3 version. Konami was the one in charge of that port, and whatever happened, they didn't have the rights to play Genki Rockets, so instead they played like this Travis like no more it's Killed or Be Killed, and it was like this heavy metal version even though she's in the club dancing. Hold on one second, I'm gonna go mute.
Mm? Yo,
Dead air. Dead air. So sorry. I need to I'm going to edit that in post. um
yeah.
you probably heard me on Discord. I muted it on the recording of the Streamlabs, so sorry about it everybody. Had to take this will be edited out. I'll cut it out. Ugh. So anyway, it's still recording. So
Yeah.
with No More Heroes, the Genki Rockets, that so it plays this heavy metal track, and it sounds so weird because she's in the club dancing, and it just doesn't match the tone of what she's dancing and she's like woohoo, and it's just like this, and it's just like
So
okay,
it's Silent Hill all over.
yeah, in a sense. But even like with Tales of, I guess this is gonna be the music segment of the podcast. Because like Tales of has that you know licensing issue where since Abyss, where it just plays like a meaty inch like Bump of Chicken has that song.
Man, I
Um,
hated that in a bit Vista where you can hear.
it's
Well,
the
they
lyrics
didn't
are
have an
good.
English version, so
Yeah, so it's just like this guitar riff that's supposed to play the same notes of
and
the
like you said
vocals.
earlier with the Knuckles tracks, I can't hear that song without the vocal.
Yeah, so that's the one where you need the vocals. And but that's it's weird because I think what was the after Abyss, it was Grace's, huh? Was that was the one that came out?
No, after Abyss, if I recall, it had to be Vesperia.
Oh right, Vesparia. Sorry, I'm I'm not the big Tales of. I'm more of that's my wife and her siblings. They're the big Tales fans who will be joining this podcast sooner or later. But that's a different story. Anyway,
Yeah, we'll
this
have a wife who wore that day.
yeah, her brothers, man. um, so Vesparia had like an English version of the song, which was good. It's still good. Like I actually don't mind if I had to listen to the English version. I don't mind. It's all right. It did it well. And then after that, Grace has had an English one, but then it was Zesteria. They couldn't get the rights to that one, so it was just the instrumental.
Yeah, well, unless you had the PC version, then we edited it back in, which
Yeah,
is
you can.
funny.
Yeah, you can edit it back in, but
And then they updated it to edit it back out, and then we just put it back in.
yeah, but then Bazaria got the rights for that song.
And then it's like, you know what's? It's like, see, Namco, now you're learning. It's like we don't care as long as it sounds good.
Yeah, and I just really like see that's the thing with music. I wouldn't have known any of that because when I go on YouTube, the videos like when I first heard Tales of Abyss opening, I didn't even play the game yet. So I was like, "Whoa, this song is good," because it was one of those reach where they took the opening FMV and they retraced it. Do you know what I'm talking about? Have you
Are
ever
you
seen
talking
one?
about that one where they made they changed the whole animation to a Final Fantasy?
See, no, no, that's the thing. Most people say the Final Fantasy one. The first one I saw was Persona 3. They did it with
Wait, they
Persona
did one
3
for Persona
characters.
3? Huh.
Yes. I don't know if it's taken down, but that's the one I remember. There was a lot of like it's because I was like huge into Persona 3 and 4. Like I just beat 4 and I had to like keep looking for content. And I also saw something with it said P3 Mad. I was like, "What's a Mad?" So when I looked at it, I was like, "Wow, this looks really good."
Oh,
And then I was like, "Oh, this is a tracing of a game."
that's why.
Yeah.
Mats are good, especially. Nah, just go off a tangent a little bit. I remember a long time ago, I seen a Mad that was made with case closed, and it was paired up with my macro. Beautiful.
My what?
It it was a Mad that was made with case closed, but the music was paired with my Mad Macross.
Oh, yeesh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's gonna be it's we're gonna feel really old if we people ask what's a mad. Oh man, like
Yep.
I'm not that old, but does it make you
But I
feel old if you
yes. Yeah, yes it does. You
oh
just bringing it up. You just reminded me.
you know what else like again another thing that made me feel old was people that don't know what caramel dancing is.
Ah,
Oh man. And speaking of caramel dancing, I recently beat Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance. I know that's not the one that came out recently, but I needed to beat that one in order to play three. So I'm actually gonna start playing three.
Does it still not make any sense?
It makes okay sense. I mean, it makes sense as much as Kingdom Hearts makes sense, if that makes sense. I don't understand. Like, I never understood why it's not that complicated. And I'm not trying to be like you know a smartass, but it's pretty simple what's going on in most of the game. The problem is that every like it's kind of like trying to explain every single finite detail to the brink. Like I saw somebody complain about Sora. Like, where did he get these powers in Kingdom Hearts 3? You know, from the gameplay trailers, where they're like he's using the park rides to like as attacks.
Yeah, Dream Drop Distance. Well, I didn't play Dream Drop Distance. Play Dream Drop Distance. It's like, but they have HD compilations. You have no excuse at this point. Just play it.
There's
It's like, but it don't make sense. You're playing a video game.
it's
Video
like a
games
lot
are
of people
stupid.
don't understand that these so-called spin-offs are actually like plot points. So if you don't know what's going on, play these games. But I don't want to play those games. Well, then don't complain that you don't know what's going on.
No, but it doesn't make any sense. You're playing a video game.
They're like that's like people trying to like. There's a series called Yakuza. I remember a guy made a really good video. He's Hyperbit Hero, your next favorite Yakuza series. Um, it's a really good video. It's a very long video. It's about almost an hour. But he's talking about the series as a whole, including the non-released Japanese games that have yet to make it over to the West. That the samurai games specifically, and the PSP ones. But I don't think he really talked about the PSP ones. But he talked about the around the time Zero was just announced, and that series people would always ask him, should I start at 3 or 4? And it's like they don't want to play 1 and 2 because they're on older generation hardware. And I understand for people that, oh, I don't have a PS2 or I can't emulate it, my computer's not good enough. And it's just like, well, there are ways, like, I mean, if you want to know what happens, watch videos or something, do something. But don't be that one person who jumps into 3 and then doesn't know what's going on. Who are these characters from 1 and 2? And honestly,
Yep.
but Zero is a prequel. It's a good. You can play Zero and go from 1, 2, and then 3 to the rest. But Zero has a lot of callbacks to the previous ones that only people who have played the games as a franchise as a whole would get the references to.
Are you referring to Birth by Sleep?
I'm referring to Yakuza, but
Ah,
I'm. This is where it connects to Kingdom Hearts. It's like people don't want to play specific games in the franchise, but then complain that they're lost. It's like you can't do that. And Final Fantasy, people will bring up like, well, Final Fantasy, 1 and through 10, you could play those because they're
you're
not
not gonna
connected.
make sense of Final. Only a
Final,
small handful of fancies are actually connected to each other.
yeah,
Like all the others are like separate stories in their own world.
like
Like
a
say for instance, Tactics is combined with Evilise, which spans to Final Fantasy 12. I mean, 8 is its own unique thing. Believe it or not, 7,
yeah,
10 are actually connected. I mean, 10 is the prequel, 7 is like billions of years in the future on another planet.
yeah. Oh, hold on. Keep going. I'm gonna mute myself. I'll step away, but keep going. I'm still gonna.
So pretty much what I'm trying to say, I, when it comes to Final Fantasy, you can only go so much by trying to make the games rational. Going back to what I said, bro, you're playing a video game. You can't rationalize everything. And major spoil warning for all the Final Fantasy series. So perfect example. Fantasy Ten.
Okay, I'm back. Keep
How
going.
how am I going to rationalize the fact that a ghost is marrying upon the countryside, side on the boat with his tag team of friends trying to fight a giant wall monster?
Yeah,
How am I supposed to or how am I supposed to rationalize the fact that Final Fantasy says seven go around with a environmentalist, a terrorist, and a dog with some with the government to stop a meteorite right from hitting the planet
yeah, and but
with energy from the planet.
yeah, but the thing is that none of the Final Fantasies are really connected. There's a few callbacks to certain things, and there's like in-game universe like magic and like Mughals. There's things that are connected to it each other, but they don't storylines. They're not
Or like
really
a
connected.
reference. I
Yeah, they're
mean,
more like
15 had to be the perfect example to where they got a lot of callback to some old Final Fantasies like cars, trains. It's like, oh, I remember that from Final Fantasy 4. Oh, I remember that from 8.
yeah,
Oh, I
and
remember that from 13.
honestly, the only games that you can really play and miss out on other games is the Tales of series because none of them are really connected with the exception of a few. Like and
Yep.
again, like Bazaria has some connections to Zestiria, but it's not enough for you to be like, "Whoa, what's going on? I don't know anything." You could play them without it, interrupting, the flow of the storyline to be like, "Whoa, who's this?" Because Kingdom Hearts is full of play these other games to know what's going on, because
I mean, Berseria is more. This takes place 10,000 years ago. So, if you were to play the game before, it's like, oh, I remember. Play. But Kingdom Hearts is more.
Kingdom Hearts is,
Okay,
yeah. There's like people are like, "What?" They were so confused in two, and it's like play Chain of Memories, and like
which I'll be real, I didn't play Chain of
you don't
Memories.
have to play Chain of Memories. I honestly played Chain of Memories as much as I could, and then I just watched the cutscenes because that was not as fun as I thought it would have been. But I know what
Well,
happens. It's pretty much like you
it's a
can watch.
cutscene on the GBA. Of course, it's not going to be fun.
No, but like even the PlayStation 2 release, the recoded one. I mean, not recoded, re Chain of Memories, because recoded is actually another game. But see, I didn't play recoded, and that one's not important enough for like. I think that one's the
I
one you can
that
avoid
did,
altogether.
yeah, because it's just one, but there's a little bit more plot on the side just to hold you over.
Yeah, it's like
It's just
Chain
a
of
side
Memories
story.
is a canonical tie-in to two. If you don't know what happens in two, play Chain of Memories. But it's kind of like those things where Japan has like this weird thing where like Nier Automata has a drama play, and like it's something that has to do with that takes place for the events prior to the game, which explains some of the characters and their motivations in the game. But you don't need to know that, but it's there. It's not important enough. Like there's this like spoilers for Nier Automata, and there's these two characters. They come out of nowhere. It's not really a spoiler because I'm not even explaining who they are. But there's these two characters that come out of nowhere. They're not explained, and it's almost like you were supposed to know who they are. They're not from a previous game either. But if you watch the drama play, the live play of you'll see what happens, and they're pretty much just a rogue
But you talking about
AI.
them two girls
Yeah,
or the
the girls
AIs?
in the red dress.
Oh no, they actually were from the from previous games. I just forget which one it was. It was either
Drakengard, or near
one of them.
because
It's
I
been a while.
because I don't remember. If they were, they're probably in Drakengard. But like you can play Nier Automata and Nier without playing Drakengard. But if you play Drakengard, you'd be really happy to know that Drakengard lives on
Like
through
the
Nier.
references.
But they're not. if you played Nier Automata without playing Drakengard, you're not going to be as lost as you think you are. It kind of has its own story. You can play Nier Automata without even playing the first Nier too. And but those kind of games work like that. But with Kingdom Hearts, I'm not trying to say that the story is great. I'm just saying that I know what's going on, and a lot of stuff do get explained. And as like even game like so many games, there's a lot of explanations that are on like a wall of text. They're not actually cutscenes. They explain what happens, like the Ansem report and why even all the Ansem reports that explains stuff in it, but nobody cares. No one's gonna read it. But since it's not given to me on a cutscene, it's hard to understand. Therefore, I'm confused. Therefore, the story is bad. The story can be bad. The story of Kingdom Hearts is flawed. I'll give it that. But confusing, it really isn't. It's more along the
I
lines
just
of
have a lot of plot lows.
it has a lot. Oh, it has plot holes. They forget about stuff. That's why I say it's flawed. So
Oh, like
that's
perfect examples. You know, I'm gonna make 13 darknesses. Okay, well, where are you gonna get the 13 darknesses from? Myself. You're still one person. No, 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 no. It's 13 darknesses, but you're still one darkness. And no one
or
brings
it's
that up at
it's
all.
I don't know. There's just like a lot of weird. No, oh, Dream Drop Distance. Actually, like there's a lot of people like if they're nobodies and they don't have hearts, then why do they have emotions? Like why does Roxas and Axel and them they have feelings for they have feelings or rage? And it's just like well in Dream Drop Distance, Xehanort explains that he made them believe that they didn't have hearts. He made them
But I
believe that
thought they didn't have any emotions whatsoever, that they were
he
like
he
brain dead stupid
manipulated
when he found them.
and he manipulated them into being vulnerable enough for them to be influenced by him so he can pass on a part of him to them to become his vessel.
It's like, I don't have a heart, then how are you able to be sentient?
No, but that's the thing. He wants like Xehanort's basically telling the organization members, "You have no heart," and it's just like,
Yet you can think and be sentient. You have emotions. You just
no, yeah,
haven't
no,
lived that long.
like they're gullible enough to believe that it's like, oh no, I have no emotions. That makes me sad. That's pretty much what Organization 13 is. It's like I don't have emotions. Therefore, I'm mad. Therefore, I'm sad. Therefore, I'm crazy. Therefore, I'm obsessed. Therefore, I'm a emo kid who reads a book. I am referencing these emotions. I'm referencing are part of the members of the team.
Yep.
And oh, all their names are they all have real names, but their Organization 13 names are just their names mixed up with an X. Like Roxas
Yeah.
is just Sora with an X.
Nah, we tapping into 360 days, you know. It's like XX Sora XX. Oh no, let me correction. Lowercase x, uppercase X Sora.
Underscore.
Uh,
But honestly, like there's a lot of like Dream Drop Distance. You don't have to play. You don't if you skip if you play 1, 2, and 3. It has a lot of references. If you played,
everything.
yes, and that's pretty much what it's for. It's for the people
But if
who
you
have
haven't played everything, then of course you're going to be confused.
like Kingdom Hearts isn't just some small indie game. It sold copies. This thing was everywhere. Everybody was talking about Kingdom Hearts. And when Kingdom Hearts 2 came out, you better believe everybody tried their best to find cosplay of Organization 13 with the jackets. So many people wielding their
And then when
wooden
people heard
keyblades.
about Final Mix, like, why we wanted this, and then we got it, and
All
the
the
man was so
speculation
glad
and
that we got it
videos of the
years
secret
later.
bosses. But, for me, I didn't play I think the okay. So let's see. So when Kingdom Hearts 2 came out, what game came right afterwards?
Final Mix, I had to import that shit
And then Recoded, and then a little bit after that, the PSP game came out. I mean, 3582 came out, and
just to say, hey, here's a little something.
Yeah, and honestly, that one is more like you want to see the organization what they were doing before, prior, to the events of two. It's not important, but you can. Birth by Sleep is a little bit more important. I felt like that one. That one's kind of like Chain of Memories.
And then Birth by Sleep Final Mix.
Yeah, but again, but now with the HD collection on Kingdom Hearts on the PS4 that came out, which mind you, these two games came out on the PS3 prior before the PS4 port, and then then they 1.5 and under 2 1.2 1.5 and 2.5, and then after that 2.8 came out, which had that extra Aqua story, and so all those games finally were released all together.
Yeah, you had to play that before you play Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yeah, and I have that full collection. And I watched somebody play the Aqua one, so I saw the cutscene, so I know what happens. I'll still play it on my side, but like I know what happens, so I'm not. It's pretty much just spoilers. Just Aqua's still in the darkness, and Mickey tries to tell her to hold on, and she holds on. When you walk away, you don't hear me say. And then three happens,
Yeah.
and all that. Three happens, and 2.8 is down the toilet.
Straight to 2.9.
And a lot of people are saying there's probably going to be a final mix of three. I
Usually I'd be mad, but in this case, 3, over the grand scheme of things, is lacking.
I've heard that, and I still have yet to play it.
But it's lacking more on my end. It's just because 3 doesn't have Final Fantasy characters in there. And it's like, oh, Final Fantasy characters anymore. It's like you failed to understand what made Kingdom Hearts. It's like we like both Disney characters, the original characters, and the Final Fantasy characters, not just the Disney
Yeah,
characters,
that
and the
was
original
weird.
characters.
I would. That's technically not a spoiler, but wow. Just get rid of Final Fantasy characters.
And then you only have like one reference, Hercules, and it's like, just no, come on. It's
Yeah.
like y'all had stories,
Okay.
and
So
then, but that's a tangent for another day.
yeah. So for me, with Kingdom Hearts and the story, and with three, I've always been indifferent to the opinions of the of Kingdom Hearts. I kind of just played the games and I was like, oh, like I don't know, like it was so weird that I played one and two, but I never had that problem of like this story doesn't make sense. Like I kind of just played the game and I never was like, what's going on? I like like I'm not downplaying anybody who doesn't understand. It happens. Maybe there's so many factors to come into it that I'm not gonna say you need to pay attention because who knows? Maybe you were paying attention. Maybe it just phrased things wrong. But for me, it's kind of like when people tell me like there's so many people that are like will have these. Why did this happen? And it's just like because of this. And it's just like I'm not trying to say your people are dumb for not knowing what's going on. This story can be confusing, but so can any other story if you just skip the pages. You
Yep.
know, and some people will actually have the nerve to jump into three without even playing one and two. Those people, I'm more upset at those people. It's like,
Mm,
and they don't, and like, there's no excuse to not play any of them right now. If you are confused what's going on, watch
well,
videos.
there is if you got the Xbox.
Yes, if you have it, well, if you have an Xbox and you bought Kingdom Hearts 3, I feel sorry for you. And that's one of my friends. I'm calling you out. You know who you are, Jacob. But I think he's played the original Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 on the original on the PS2. So he pretty much has his 1 and 2 fixed. So he knows for the most part what's going on. And I'm pretty sure he's not a fool. Um, he didn't have a PS3, so he watched Metal Gear Solid 4, the movie. Like sometimes, yeah, you're right, people. You can't get a hold of every single game, but
Yeah.
the internet is so wide and vast. You can find cutscenes of everything that includes all the plot points and find out what is
Either
happening.
that or just get a used game or get a
If you have the
emulator.
console, if you have the console.
Or if you have a game, you can
But if you have a
like put it in
PS4,
an emulator.
if you have a PS4, the Kingdom Hearts bundle is not that expensive. It's that's a lot of games for like what, 30 bucks. It's not even a full price game. Like Kingdom Hearts, the Kingdom Hearts HD, like all games included, wasn't even a full price game when I bought it. And with Kingdom Hearts 3, and so like with Kingdom Hearts 3 and the HD remastered, if you have a PS4 and you have the time and the money, there's no excuse to be confused of what's going on. Yes,
Yep.
I'll be honest, I'll be real with you. I didn't feel like beating Dream Drop Distance just to get the 3, but I wanted to do that because it was more of like a self, goal. I said to myself, look, if I don't beat Dream Drop Distance, I can't say I understand what's going on in the series, and I don't want to be those people that don't know what's going on. But honestly, Dream Drop Distance and Chain of Memories are just retellings of what previously happened and just showing you what's going on now. Because even Kingdom Hearts 2 kind of recaps what happened in Chain of Memories. And I was like, I put two and two together as a kid. I was like, oh, that's what happened in two. I mean, in Chain of Memories. All right. That's Namine.
Who has more personality than someone else?
Who? I like that. There's this picture that people send me these pictures. They say it's Kingdom Hearts. I love this character, but it's just a blank photo. Just I don't know. Kingdom Hearts fans are weird.
Well, you would have to get the joke.
And but overall, Kingdom Hearts 2 and Kingdom Hearts in general, it's a flawed series. But I tell people like this: if you're a fan of Kingdom Hearts and you don't know how to like your friends that don't know what's the appeal, it's the best outcome of Final Fantasy, Square Enix, and Disney mashed up into one because there's no way you could fix this. There's no way you could make it better. Uh,
Or you could just cut off your mind and just play the game.
Look, I'm the game. Okay, so with everybody's like negative responses of Kingdom Hearts 3, I get that. I get it. But keep in mind, I'm a person that likes Metal Gear Solid 4. I love Metal Gear Solid 4. I played that game. I beat it twice. I love the replay. Like for me, it had replay value, not because of the online, but just because I liked I just liked the way it felt playing it.
And
And
you
I
didn't
know,
have to pay for a save.
yeah, but when people played 5 and people would always like dog on 4 because like, oh, the hour-long cutscene. Honestly, it's just like I was so into the game. And honest, I'll be real. I was in high school, so when you're in school, when you're just in regular high school, middle school, with all these games, you have time to just soak in the story. So that's kind of easy for me to understand. Like, and then there's even like this thing you could download on the PS3 store that actually explains the timeline of Metal Gear Solid. Metal Gear Solid is not that hard to follow either, and a lot of people didn't like 2 because you didn't get to play a Snake. But
Yeah,
I
that's
played
true.
two. I played 2 with zero expectations. I had no problem with playing as Raiden. All right.
I that.
Yeah, sorry about that, everybody. We had to take a quick break, but as where were we on about Kingdom Hearts?
Uh, we went
Oh
into
yeah,
a
I was
segue
talking
about
about
Metal
Metal Gear
Gear.
Solid. Yeah, for that, as for me, I always felt like 4 was the. I always liked 4, and I actually played 4 right after I played 5, and I actually liked it. Like it felt fine, And the only downside was it is the frame rate drops. If this game got a PC release or a HD remaster on the PS4 where it's 60 frames, honestly, I could say like,
See, you having too much hope. It's Konami we
oh no,
about.
no, of course, that's no, that's wishful thinking. I'm not saying they're going to, but I'm saying if there was a way to fix the problems, technical problems that I had with Metal Gear 4, then honestly, it'd be my like goatee. Like, not, it'd be a good, like, that's one of my favorite games next to 3. One is in the middle for me. It's kind of like this one is the one that started it all. It's a good starting point for the franchise. I play it. It's a good game. 2 is right is like, wow, this one's okay. Like, not that bad. I can't really put one in front of the other, but I will say 3 and 4 are on the top. Um, so when it comes, like, 3 was like, whoa, this game, I love this. I love the way, I love the mechanics, all the things you can do. And 4 was like, that's a good send off. The way it, like, I like the way 4 ended the franchise. 5 comes around, and it's like, I was hyped. I bought it. I played it. I was like, this is fun. But like, if you were like, this one being the final game, just kind of felt like, oh, like, in terms of ending the series, not so much as the last game in the last installment, but rather story wise. I think 4 wrapped up, you know, the story pretty well. I mean, in term for this, as far as a Metal Gear game, which, you know, for most people, I don't know, like, and for Kingdom Hearts, can we just let, like, Kingdom Hearts 3 needed to bring closure, and they kind of, I heard that there's like the way it ends, without even spoiling
Well,
anything.
it's wiggle. I'm not gonna really go to suppose.
Let's just say
Let's
if they
just
made a Kingdom
say
Hearts 4,
it's they
it's a
have wiggle
possibility
room to have another one.
of
That's the best
Kingdom
way to
Hearts
put
4.
it.
If they said Kingdom Hearts 4 is coming out in 2027, I'd believe it. That's from when I heard word of mouth. And so for me, Kingdom Hearts is a series that, despite all its flaws, I find the characters very endearing. I want to see these characters happy, and I want to see them go on adventures.
So in other words, you're hyped up for 7 more sides before we get to.
Are you kidding me? Of course I am. I don't care. I'm like, I like Kingdom Hearts. I played Birth by Sleep so much on my PSP before my PSP finally gave out on me. I it's a series that I just don't understand. That I can understand not liking it. I can understand hating it. But to be confused about it, like, it's just a mishmash of poor things. It shouldn't work, but it does. And that may sound like a cop out, but like, think about it. Think about Disney. Think how strict they are with stuff. They Square Enix managed to make a game using Disney properties and somehow
They
managed to
just
succeed.
blew up into success.
And honestly, from what I've seen, like, when you play the game, when you actually pay attention to the facial animations when there is some, and details of, like, and dialogue, you can tell they're kind of self-aware of their, like, a lot, like, I heard that the self-awareness in 3 is actually really up there compared to the other ones. But like, 1 kind of plays itself very seriously. 2 is like, plays itself serious as well, but the games after that, like Dream Drop Distance, Birth by Sleep, and all them, they kind of like have that tongue-in-cheek, like, yeah. So I guess on an end note, if you are skeptical on Kingdom Hearts, I suggest playing it if you have a PS4. Play the HD collection and play 1 and 2.
Hmm. Or find some old games like. You'd be amazed how cheap they are if you don't buy them new. That's the main thing. It's like, oh, I don't have the money to buy these old games. It's like that's why you buy them used, so you don't have to spend $60 just to get a copy of something that you don't. Eh.
Yeah. So Reggie retiring. Um, We didn't even get to talk about another topic, but we'll save it for the next one.
Yeah.
So I think it's about time we wrap it up. And anyway, I'm Ed Tama 23,
And I'm Main Mug XP from the Kaze-kan podcast.
and we'll see y'all later. Have a good night.